But I'm going to tell you this, we ain't done yet.
Oink Doink.
You had that one locked and loaded, didn't you?
Oh man.
Oh yeah, I couldn't wait.
I was not prepared.
All right, that was good.
Okay, that's why you were gung ho on playing the music today. Of all the significant plays in the world of sports over the years, man, Oink Doink it's just so perfect. Like it's automatically into the top 5 of sports play nicknames. Like the Immaculate Reception, Oink Doink. Like it's right there.
Yeah, kick six.
The
Oink
kick
Doink.
six.
Yeah.
Six, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whoever came up with that one, great job.
Yeah. And like it may not have even been one person, because I feel like immediately after the game I just saw it like wildfire. Like it wasn't just one person's tweet, but like just everyone was getting
Doink,
that
doink,
one in.
doinking.
Yeah.
I want to say like SEC Network or somebody tweeted out Doink
Yeah.
with like that clip, and then everybody, that was their initial thought, is like Oink.
How's everyone feeling after a big weekend in DF Dub? Got the dub. Felt out of reach at early on. We'll get to that later. But how's everyone feeling right now?
I feel great right now.
Good.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't, like you said, didn't feel great for a little while, but
Right.
For now we're okay.
Yep.
Also, howdy and welcome back to the Ineligibles podcast.
Oh yeah. He is Chase Caldwell and he's Hayden Garland, and I'm Will Stone, and this is the Ineligibles podcast. Man, it does not feel like it's 4 weeks into the season. I try to pretend that it's not, but regardless, happy to be here with you folks and talking some football. But we got the hurry up no huddle dilly ready. There we are.
Let's throw it up there.
Today's hurry up no huddle. Big surprise, at least for me as a somewhat follower, or like in the weeds follower of A&M recruiting. David Hicks committed to Texas A&M today. Number 1 defensive lineman in the 2023 class by way of Katy Pato down in Katy, Texas. Great looking prospect. I mean, like, you talk about stacking a position like A&M's doing on the D-line right now. Like, after taking 8 studs last year, they've got 2 guys committed this year. One of them just happens to be the number 1 at his position in the country. And, kind of like could play inside out. Like, he's like 6'4", 270, so kind of fits the profile of some other guys that we've gotten. But he could easily add some weight and wind up at like a 3-tech and be a pretty dang good player. But this one, like, I think A&M led for a while, and then the past couple of months, Oklahoma really had some momentum going. And, I actually forgot he was committing today because I was like, oh, he's going to OU. Like, I'm not going to follow this. Like, A&M recruiting has been good this cycle. Not great, not outstanding, but it's been fine. They've missed on a couple of guys here lately. I'm like, man, like, we missed on some receivers, and now David Hicks, who was one of our best bets, he's going to Oklahoma, but shocks the world and picks A&M today, which was very, very exciting.
Yeah, I saw yesterday that he was committing today, and started to follow it, or I was like, oh, I'm going to watch that one. But everybody that I could tell really was leaning OU on that one. And I just didn't think much more about it, and until I got my text from Texags today. And I was
Same.
like, oh, wait, he committed to us? That's a 979 number. What's going on? So, yeah, good pickup from us, and one that I really kind of assumed might be a hard one to pick up just in general because of how much talent we have at the position. But that's what you really want to see is a position that you're already loaded on, still landing top prospects, because it's about reloading, and yeah, I think we've really shown this year that we play almost every single one of those guys, even if they're freshmen. So I'm sure that had a big part to play.
Yeah, and like there's a guy his age in Levius Overton who's playing a lot for us right now. He's probably thinking, man, like that could be me, and it will be him next season. So
yeah,
the future's bright at that position. With with the way that the roster is set up, it's this will not be another number one class unless something like drastic. Like it would take a drastic change in the current landscape for this class to be number one again. But should be a very solid very solid class, probably a top 10 class. What's interesting to me is what do we do in the portal, and that's a talk for another day. But yeah, I'm comfortable with what they're going to do on defense and recruiting, but when it comes to offense, I would be looking at every receiver that enters the portal, they're getting a phone call from Texas A&M being like, "Hey, do you want to come play here? Do you want to come visit here?" Like,
yeah, no doubt.
we've got some great young players, but it's just I think it's just a matter of having that depth, and we'll talk more about that later in the show. But straight from that, we'll go right into. I didn't get the sound clip. Sorry, everyone at home, but we're gonna do a mid-season edition of Buy, Sell, Hold. So, ding, ding, ding. The market is open. Does anyone have something that they're dying to buy or sell or hold? We can go either direction.
Well, just to get us started, I'm going to sell A&M for this season. That way I can go ahead and take some losses.
I didn't want to start with that.
I want to be able to go in and find some capital gains to take, and so I always start with my losses to take first. That way I can just build from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one that I'm selling just for the season. I mean, it's I think we're trending in the right direction, but at the moment there's just too many question marks for me that I'm not entirely optimistic on the season, and we'll talk more about that one later. Let's see. Actually, I might just I might sell A&M and buy Arkansas, even though we just got through beating Arkansas
for this season.
Yeah, for this season specifically, because Arkansas really was a good team. Of course, y'all know I've been high on Arkansas, but just their coaching staff, I think they've got a good coaching staff. Watching KJ Jefferson, I mean, he's a good quarterback, and so I think they had a little slip up with us, but I think they very well will probably finish the season higher than we will. Hopefully I'm proven wrong in that aspect.
Yeah. I'm struggling to find something to sell. Because there's been, obviously there's like 4 or 5 teams that have fired their coaches now. And it's like, oh, I'm going to sell the team that just fired their coach. Yeah. Well, like everyone would do that. So I'm trying to find something a little more compelling, but I think I'm going to sell TCU. They were a team that I was kind of, cautiously optimistic on coming into the season. They hired Sonny Dykes from SMU, who has always run pretty explosive offense. They've got some really talented receivers, and they had 2 quarterbacks that they probably felt comfortable with. But for whatever reason, it's not clicking. I mean, like I think they're probably still undefeated at this point, but it hasn't been that impressive. So TCU was a team I thought could maybe be dark horse Big 12. I would definitely sell that as it stands today.
Yeah. I'm gonna dip into the penny stocks here and buy some Kansas.
Oh,
While they're
brother.
still cheap because
It's skyrocketing.
yeah, I'm getting on the ground floor of that one. Because I missed the initial surge, but we've still got a long way to go for Kansas. So still not ranked, believe it or not. So
And Kansas State is.
oh yeah, that has to hurt.
Yeah, that
But
stings.
Kansas looks so much better than I ever thought I would ever see them look. So
Yeah.
hoorah for parity, right?
I mean, it's both of these things, but like in college football, it's like, hey, do you want the recruiter? Or do you want the program builder? You know, like there's very few guys that are both. And Lance Leipold is the program builder. You know, like came from a small program and a small D3 program. He was super successful. Obviously not a Kirby Smart or Nick Saban type of recruiter, but probably a great evaluator and brought some guys in and has obviously elevated their level of play. Their offense is so much fun to watch. The quarterback Jalen Daniels. I heard someone say this the other day. If he played at one of the 20 helmet schools that people give a crap about, he's probably on Heisman watch. But because he plays at Kansas, who no one cares about, he's not getting the love. But he's a hell of a player, and Kansas is very fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, there's a lot of teams that I would make some sort of changes on. It's a good time to rebalance. I'd buy some Wake again. They had a thriller versus Clemson, but ultimately lost out. But I think they'll continue to progress. I think it's very similar Wake team to what we saw last year. I'm buying Tennessee. I think Tennessee's good this year. That's no surprise to anybody if you've been watching Tennessee this year. I'd buy. I thought there was one more buy. Maybe I don't have another buy. I'd be selling Baylor. I was big on Baylor coming into the season. Be selling them right now. I was really low on Oklahoma and USC anyways, but if I had any for USC, I'd be selling it. That's for sure. They almost,
narrowly escaped,
barely escaped Oregon State to the point that I even went ahead and wrote it off as the game was over. But they ultimately ended up winning in the last minute and a half. Selling Miami, which is a lot of the reason why I sold A&M.
Yeah, that's
our real good win of the year that we felt good about. Goes on and loses Middle Tennessee State. So yeah, there's a lot of changes to be made.
I've got quite a few buys. Have you got anything, Hayden? Because I'm about to go on a rant here on a spending spree.
There you go. I mean, like I said, I'm not down on A&M, but they're definitely a sell for me. We narrowly got away with the win against Miami. We narrowly got away with the win against Arkansas. The ball bounces a few different ways against Arkansas. We lose that game. Clemson, I'm holding on them, I guess. They're still number 5. I haven't gotten to watch a ton of them, but when I have seen them, they haven't been super impressive to me yet. I got to wait and see. They finally got some competition against Wake Forest this weekend, and
great game.
Yeah, it was.
I'm in agreement with you on the hold, though. That's one of my holds. I think DJ is much improved at quarterback. In Clemson, it's always been about the defense. And DJ, he's not a Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence, but he's a lot better than he was last year. And just being that can get them back to the playoff.
Let's see what else. Didn't get the chance to watch Tennessee, Florida, unfortunately, but I think I'm buying Tennessee. Chase, I was interested why you want to sell Baylor here. So I wouldn't be selling them. I thought they looked fine.
Hayden is a Baylor homer.
We're working on it. It's yeah, I'm influenced a little bit, but just tell me what you see, Mr.
I don't
Advisor.
know. Maybe I might switch that. Say I would hold Baylor. I'm not buying into Baylor right now. I guess would be a better point.
Yeah.
I was really high on Baylor to the point that I'm like, I think they're going to win the Big 12. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with this year. And it's similar trajectory as A&M so far this year, where they've been mildly disappointing. Where I really thought this might be the year that they just ran the Big 12, and I'm just not seeing it. So I'm going to switch that to a hold. I'm glad you pointed that out before I submitted my trades.
I think their game against Oklahoma State this weekend is really the teller for me. If
measuring tool, yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, it's a Big 12 championship rematch, depending on how that turns out. If they hold them close, it is in Waco, so if they hold them close, I'm starting to lean towards Baylor. Just the only reason they're down so far in the rankings because they did lose to BYU. They did have some good games against, well, it's Albany and Texas State, so take that for what you will. But they did what they needed to against Iowa State. Yeah. Beat them by touchdown this past weekend. So definitely a hold, but I'm leaning optimistic on them.
Yeah, I think that's a good hold. And this weekend is one of the few games that Baylor gets at home that's against a tough team. Like they have to go to Oklahoma, they have to go to Texas. Like a lot of the teams they beat last year, they have to go on the road to this year. That are pretty good programs. But man, if they can pull it off this weekend, that is a huge deal. I feel like I haven't seen Oklahoma State play at all. Like they played, like I guess they were on a bye this past week, and
they were, yeah.
Their other two games were against crappy teams, so hard to say much about them. But I guess to pile on with the holds, I'm going to hold on Michigan. Bottom, going into the season, was slightly concerned this past weekend. I don't believe they covered the spread. It was like 17.5, but they're still very good. I think they have their quarterback. I think the defense is still very good. I'm not rushing to buy more stock, but I'll keep what I got and feel good about it. But for the teams I'm buying, I mean, come on, guys, buy Minnesota, like the class of the Big Ten West, especially with how poorly Wisconsin has looked. Minnesota, and obviously, if I can go back to the sell, I'm selling the crap out of Michigan State because they are ass. Like they came in, one of those teams, kind of came out of nowhere last year, had a really solid year. They stink. Like they got smoked by Washington. That game wasn't even close, and then just dominated this past weekend. It was like 34-3 against Minnesota at one point. So, and Minnesota's done that in every game they played in. Like they've been very efficient and very very strong so far. Obviously going to buy Kansas. Love what they're doing.
I got to watch a little bit of them play Duke, and that was a super fun game to watch.
Right? Yeah,
it was.
Like, I'm going to buy Duke too. I'm going to buy Mike Elko. Like Duke, far cry from where they were when they were giving A&M hell in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. But they were awful the past couple of years, especially last year. But Elko, man, he can coach. He's got it going on. What's my buying here? I'll tell you what. I'm going to sell Houston. They were kind of talked about as, maybe the class of the G5 this year. Not going to happen. I meant to clip this, but after that game against Rice, they barely won, and they were asking Dana Holgerson about it, and he was like, "Just stupid stuff," and I'm not taking responsibility for it anymore. I was like, I'm not sure you want to hear that from your head coach. Like, hey, this ain't my problem. This ain't my fault.
Jeez, it's brutal.
That'll take quote of the week.
Yeah. I may try to go look up like what the full quote was, but it was something to the effect of, "Hey, I'm not at fault for our play. Our players are just sucking it up."
A lot of optimism out of that guy.
Yeah. I know I've been all over the board here, but lastly, I'm going to sell Colorado. They're one of the worst teams in D1, and I'm going to buy Arizona, a team that was had one win last season. They are a 17.5 point favorite over Colorado this week. Just like that, they're 2-1, 3-1. They beat North Dakota State. That was huge. Yeah, I'm liking what they're doing. They may make a bowl game. There's so many teams that have stunk for a long time that might make bowl games this year. Like Kansas Duke,
Yeah.
that's basically a bowl game. Like I bet both those teams make it into the postseason.
Kansas is two games away from a bowl game. I mean,
Yeah.
What do y'all think about Washington?
Bye. I'm hesitant to go all in, but I'll buy some Washington right now. They play on the road at UCLA this weekend, I think. Love their coach. Love Kalen DeBoer. Shout out to Fresno for not being able to hang on to him and Washington picking him up. Sorry, Kyle. I know you love Kalen DeBoer, but I think they look great so far. I think we got into them a little bit last week. I'm trying to remember who they play from the South, but could have a USC Washington Pac-12 championship. And as of right now, they're both undefeated. So this is getting into the fun part of the season.
yeah, no doubt. And part of that, let's segue to the recap and just talk about what all went on this weekend and what we saw, what we liked, what we didn't like, that kind of thing.
On the Thursday game, I got to see parts of this, mainly because I was playing Hayden in college fantasy, and I had a receiver in this game. Didn't do that great, but I mean, I did great. I beat Hayden, but Bryce Ford Wheaton didn't do that great for West Virginia, but they won convincingly. They, 33-10 over Virginia Tech on the road, in Blacksburg with Metallica blaring in the background. I like what they're doing. I mean, they play at Texas this weekend. Watch out for the Mountaineers. But I think the biggest takeaway from the weekend is that the Big 12 is probably out of the playoff, right?
I'd imagine so, yeah.
They're beating up on each other like they always do.
Yeah. And Baylor has the non-con loss to BYU.
Yeah. I mean, who's their best shot right now? Kansas and Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
K-State too. No, K-State's got a loss.
Lost to Tulane.
So yeah, there we go. Kansas,
Although if a team that lost to Tulane wins the Big 12, it's also not shocking either. And that's not even one of the schools that's joining next year. Like that's one of the schools that got stuck in the American that couldn't make the move.
Well, how about Texas Tech?
I got to see a lot of this game. When you were still out for Texas, Hudson Card did some good things, but Texas Tech just made plays when it mattered. They when your best player for Texas, when your best player fumbles in overtime to pretty much lose you the game, it's not a good feeling. And Bijan had a great game. Like, he's a fantastic player, but just horrible timing to make that mistake. And yeah, I mean, hats off to Tech for hanging in there and trading blows and coming out on top. But I think they have a loss to NC State, but Tech looks good. You know, they're kind of back to their let it rip offense. To bring this back to college fantasy, my receiver for them had 17 targets, which is just an ungodly amount. I couldn't tell you any receiver in the past 5 years for Texas A&M that's had 17 targets in a game. Maybe one of our tight ends at some point, but not a receiver. So yeah, I like what Tech's doing.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I was big on them coming into the year, and still am. I think they're doing some good things for. I mean, all intents and purposes, I wouldn't want to be in their position with staying in the Big 12 and all that kind of stuff. But they've done some good things with it, and got a good coaching staff put together, I think.
I think the Big 12 might be like appointment viewing this season. Like all those teams are like, they're all competent. Like in the past you would have a Kansas and maybe somebody else who was just like really down, just get ran over by other teams. But now they're all kind of like, all 10 of those teams are on the same level. Like you may have 2 8-4 teams in the Big 12 championship, but like they're all good. But it makes for exciting television. I'll say that much.
Yeah, definitely. There was a lot of games this weekend that were won by one score. Baylor, Iowa State, Maryland, Michigan,
Clemson, Wake,
Florida, Tennessee, Oregon, Washington State, Tulsa, Mississippi,
USC.
Arkansas A&M, USC. I mean, there's a number of games. Kansas State, Oklahoma, USC, Oregon State. It just a lot of close games from. Now, granted, I didn't watch all of those games, so some of them might have been trash time touchdowns, but still, a lot of close games that you wouldn't expect to be close. I wouldn't have expected Oregon State to even come close to USC, and they almost won that game. So, I don't know. I mean, when you're rooting for chaos, that's exciting to see very thin spreads there.
Hey, even sorry, this one just jumped out. Even Ole Miss only beat Tulsa by a touchdown, and they're like, I was checking out SP Plus over the weekend. Whenever the new numbers came out, and Ole Miss is like a top 7 team in the metrics. But I'm not going to try to defend that. I'm just giving y'all the update. But we'll talk more about future A&M opponents coming up. But
how about the number 6 team in the country getting knocked off by a non-ranked opponent?
Yeah, you hate to see it.
I couldn't imagine.
Time is a flat circle. I forgot who I was telling this to this weekend, but back in that crazy year in college football, 2007, like the number 2 ranked team lost like 8 times that year. Like someone would get to number 2 and then lose the next week.
It's funny that you say that, because I was about to ask, like, do you think the number 6 team this year is going to be the number 8 of 2007? Because USC plays Arizona State this weekend.
They're number 6.
Yeah, they're number 6 right now. After almost losing to Oregon State. Like,
I mean, oh yeah, I'm trying to think of who they play. Yeah, I mean, Arizona State's not ranked, so that could definitely hold true. I didn't watch any of the USC game. It was on late, and we were out and about. So, was really disheartened when USC came back at the end and won it. I was like, "Oh, they're gonna lose. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like we can stop all the hype." But props to them for for making a play when it needed to be made. But I did watch pretty much all of the Clemson Wake Forest game, and it was terrific. Sam Hartman was just out there balling for Wake Forest.
Not
trying.
throwing passes to my wide receivers.
He wasn't. He wasn't. He threw it to everybody else. I think he had like 6 or 7 passing touchdowns on the day. Really great performance from him. Apparently, Clemson had some defensive backs out for this game, so that may have been why that Hartman was so successful. But to not take anything away from him because he played awesome. But Clemson, they've got a test this weekend against NC State. But with we talked about it some earlier, but with DJ playing better, they've got a couple guys at receiver now. The O-line isn't terrible like it used to be, and they have a few good running backs. They could maneuver their way through that conference, and maybe even with a loss, like still get into the playoff. But because like big picture, I don't know if this were to happen. I don't know if like I'm not calling this to happen, but if, like we said last week, if Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan are 1 through 4, and they all make it, like that's probably going to hurt the product a little bit. Like I'm not sure if people want to see. First of all, you're probably going to get a rematch in there, at least one rematch somewhere, most likely. And I don't know. I'm not. I'm not saying that I'm rooting for Clemson because I'm definitely not. I hope they lose, most of their games. But just trying to think who has a chance to get into the playoff, and I hope it's not 2 SEC and 2 Big Ten teams.
It's starting to look like it though.
I don't think you could get Ohio State, Michigan in there though, because they'll have to play each other. Well, I guess you could. I guess.
I
mean, one would be 11-1 with just a loss to the other.
Yeah. I was thinking they'd meet in the Big Ten championship, but yeah, they wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about those 2 teams. Don't forget about the Gophers, who I don't think either of them. I don't think either Ohio State or Michigan play Minnesota. Could we have 3 Big Ten teams in the playoff?
Yeah, that'll go over super well.
In the first, when they first did the playoff, I think it was 2014. Their very, very first ranking show had 3 SEC teams in the top 4, and people were pissed.
SEC bias.
Yeah,
don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, are there any other games that you want to recap, and then we'll jump into the Oink Doink?
I only saw bits and pieces of Florida, Tennessee. I don't know if any of you guys had eyes on that one.
No, I was
watched a little bit of
it. Big win for Tennessee. Closer maybe than expected. 38-33. But man, I think they're one of the few stadiums in the country that's bigger than ours. I think it's significantly bigger. I think they seat like 112 or something. But that thing was packed the other day, and it was a raucous environment. So props to them for getting the dub. Tennessee plays both Alabama and Georgia this season. So I guess they do that every season, but Tennessee's actually good this year. So could make things a lot more interesting. But I don't know. From an A&M's perspective, I'm a little bit less scared of Florida, certainly than I was after week 1. But even now, I'm thinking like, that's not a team that's going to come in here and just, give us all we can handle.
Yeah, I feel I'm not as I'm the same as you. I'm not as concerned with them. I mean, I feel like they're more on par with us. maybe like Mississippi State is. So
Yeah. Last one before we get to A&M. Did y'all see the Mizzou Auburn ending? Or I guess like both endings. So this game was ugly as crap. Like it was 14-14 with like a little bit of time left. Mizzou got the ball back. And they're driving on Auburn. They're hitting big plays and they get down to the 3 with like a little bit of time left. And they just start kneeling it out to take a field goal instead of trying to punch it in. And they miss it. And it goes to overtime, and their receiver fumbles the ball through the end zone. Game over.
oh my gosh. I did not see that. Good Lord.
Like,
Wow.
and Mizzou's coach is like he's one of those like stat guys, and I'm a stat guy. Like when it comes to sport, or at least when it comes to football, to some extent. But like, I don't care what the numbers say. Like, if you're on the 3-yard line trying to win a game, like, just play your offense. Like, don't start taking any like thinking, oh, like my collegiate kicker's got this in the bag. Like, you should never ever assume that.
Yeah. No, I might kneel it once if you're trying to get some time off the clock, you know, but then past that, run the ball.
Yeah.
So collegiate kickers.
That's why we brought him on. Make the segues.
Yeah. And being at the 3-yard line and things not going your way.
And fumbling. I'll be real. This game started off as poorly as it could have possibly started off. And
yeah,
like, I'm sure you guys can relate. Like, I was pissed. Like, I was like, we're about to get our ass kicked by Arkansas. Like, this is going to be like a 42-3 kind of game.
I was at the Rangers game actually, right next door, and I was sitting next to my cousin Stephanie, and she's a Razorback, and I was just feeding her the stats of what was going on. I'm like, oh, y'all just scored another touchdown. Oh, y'all scored another touchdown. You know, and I'm like, I just knew we were getting stomped, and
I mean,
and then we had a 14-point swing basically. You know, they should have had a touchdown. We had it go the other way. So
I was at that game, and I was texting Alexa during that, and I'll give her props. She was trying to like cheer me up and everything, but I was like, I'm not having it. We look like crap. Like this is the last game I'm going to. I'm not going to keep this year, and I think it will be regardless anyways. But I was like, you know, I'm not going to keep hyping myself up just to watch all this disappointment. And she was trying to cheer me up, and I was like, I was not having any of it. It was rough, and then we turned it around.
yeah, that play where they fumbled the ball and we ran it back. One of the wildest plays I think I've ever watched live at a A&M game. You know, just because I mean, the fumble was great. I mean, everything about the play was great, but I mean, how many times do you have that exact same play and the player doesn't hand it off?
Right.
You know, like I was shocked when that happened, and then I was shocked that they didn't blow it dead.
That's what I was shocked by, because by the time he got stopped, I was like, all right, yeah, good fumble recovery, good goal line stop. And I turned away, and I don't know what I was looking at or whatever, but I turned away from the play, and then all of a sudden everybody's still cheering, and I'm like, what's going on? I look up, and there he goes.
There's Devontae just streaking down the sideline.
Yeah, and I'm like, how did that happen? I was like, that's not even the same guy. what happened there? You know, I was like,
but I was just waiting on a flag. I was like, there's no way this is going to stand.
I was waiting on them to review it.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't know if that was a reviewable thing if they didn't blow the whistle, but I was definitely waiting on them to review it. And I wonder, do you think that's why we missed that point after? Do you think it was we were trying to get that snap off real quick to where they couldn't review it?
That's a good point because uh, like when the play happened, I was like celebrating, and then like I was like you, I was like, okay, I was like, are they going to review this? And then like I kind of looked away for a second, and then I look up, and our punter is throwing a pass to our kicker, and I'm like, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah,
And
that was my initial thought. I was like, no, what? Oh my gosh, you know. And then I was like, wait, no, I'm cool. That's cool.
that
You know,
that 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 could
they
that could
didn't
have been
review
it.
it. That,
Yeah.
Right.
I'm fine with them not reviewing it.
So for full disclosure, I watched this game at a wedding. Uh, the first few drives on my phone, but this wasn't. This was half an Aggie wedding, so they actually had two projectors that came down on each side of the DJ, and they broadcasted the game on there. So like,
That's cool. That's cool.
props to them for doing that. Props to Ike and Maddie for getting married
Yeah.
and having cool vendors that do stuff like that. But
Yeah, if you're gonna get married during football season and you do that, okay, I'm happy.
yeah,
If you don't do that and you get married during football season,
yeah.
yeah.
But like
Know your audience, you know.
so I think it was 14-7, right? Because we had like played like crap, but then finally had a good drive and like got in the end zone, and they had obviously gotten all the way down to the 5. So like where I was sitting, I was actually facing opposite of the screen, and I was like, like I don't even want to watch this. I'm gonna eat my barbecue or whatever. And I'm sitting across from Zach Matthews, and he just stands up. He just goes, "Go!" And like he just stood up real fast. I was like, "What's happening?" And I turn around, and I'm watching Tyreek Chappelle running with the ball. I had no idea how he got it, and then he hands it to Damani, and he does the rest. But we might look back at the end of this season and be like, man, if not for that, like this could have really been bad. But all in all, obviously not our strongest performance. I think on offense, at least after the first couple of drives, they started to figure some things out. Moose Muhammad, I'm sure most folks will know, tough day at the office. Some dumb penalties. Probably should have had a touchdown, long touchdown pass if he stays on his route at 100%. But you live and you learn. A&M fans have been calling for him to play a lot for 2 years. Well, now he's going to play, and I don't expect he'll keep making mistakes like that every game. And a couple of those flags, I thought it was a little ticky tack on a couple of them, but regardless, I expect his awareness, of the game and things like that to improve, and I think he can be a playmaker for us still.
Yeah, there was like one drive or maybe 1.5 drives there that it was just like somebody get him off the field.
Yeah.
It was a Murphy's Law situation. Like anything that could go wrong was going wrong, and it was all on number 7. And I'm like, okay, we've got to put somebody else in, and get him out of there for a little bit just to reset. I mean, how that is when something starts going wrong, and then you just start snowballing. Like you just need to hit the reset button. And I think he's a great player. I think he'll do just fine. But hopefully that was a big learning experience for him, because as good of a player as he is, I think that's bound to have been a big time gut punch for him to have that many mistakes go wrong that many times in a row.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure film study the next day was a lot of fun for him. I'm sure the coaches probably have got him right. But for a few more positives, I thought the offensive line had its moments on Saturday. Full disclosure, I have not rewatched the App State or Miami games. Just couldn't bring myself to do it. It took me 2.5, 3 weeks to finally get over that kind of thing. So we got back and the no huddle was posted for our game against Arkansas. I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this full game and see what the O-line's doing and see what the problem is. But I think they've improved every game. They, obviously they got Bryce back against Miami, and that was a big boost. But like, there were times where, the pass pro was really good. Not all the time, but a lot of the time it was. There were times where the run blocking was exceptional. Where like, we executed, to perfection and blocked the guys we're supposed to and blocked them well. There was other times where, like especially on, you guys probably remember this, but it was late in the game and I think we like fumbled a snap or something. And there was a guy in Max's face like immediately. I hope they throw that play out of the playbook. Like they were trying to pull Leighton Robinson to block the defensive end, like on a passing play, and I'm like, that's really dumb.
Yeah.
He's not really a speed guy. He probably can't get out there and square up a defensive end that's screaming off the edge with his ears pinned back. So hopefully they're like, okay, that didn't work. Let's ditch that from the playbook. But all in all, there were some encouraging things, but it wasn't all great.
Yeah. I mean, quite frankly, we got outplayed in this game. We really didn't deserve to win the game, I didn't feel like. But we won, and that's all that matters. But I just, anytime we play like that, I'm like, I really hope we glean something from that,
Yeah. And football is the ultimate, small sample size sport. And, it just feels like there's a play or two here and there, like just a few things away from really clicking. And
right, I agree with that. That's thank you. You kind of formulated my words for me. Of the and sorry to interrupt you, but
you're good.
I feel like I'm like really dogging on A&M today, and I don't mean to. It's
you
just
sold our stock.
Yeah, well, immediately. That's how I always do it. I always take my losses first and then figure out the gains to offset them. But I don't know. I think we've got some good pieces. We've got to turn that corner. And each game I go into saying like, hopefully this is the one that we turn the corner. I just didn't feel like we were close to turning that corner this game. Yeah. And hopefully that changes this week,
Yeah. I do think, and obviously you can't just assume this. You still have to go out and make the plays. But if Max Johnson does connect with Moose on that long play, and we have like a 60-yard touchdown, that probably changes the way we feel about things. Like we're probably a little more upbeat and like, hey, like we can throw the ball downfield and make some explosive plays. But I think, and we'll get to this in a second, but basically your entire receiving core and your tight end core and everyone except for A-Chain is new. They're young guys. They're first and second year players. A lot of them first year players. Super talented, but just not experienced. Like it's and we can gripe all day until we're blue in the face about Jimbo's offense and how complicated it is, but that's the situation we're in. And I think at least for this season, if these young guys can get on the same page and click, this can still be a really good team. But it's a tough order. But
well, I don't expect them to be world beaters, but to your point, we've got the talent. It's just young. So we got to get the fundamentals down. And, had he caught that long pass, had we not made some of the dumb penalties and things like that, I would feel better about it because that's what I want to see. It's not that I want us to go out and be blowing teams out. It's that I want us to be very sound fundamentally. And
Right.
then, if we can get sound fundamentally, that's going to turn that corner for us. And just inexperience is keeping us from getting there. But with every game comes a lot more experience. So I expect that we'll be there by the end of the season. But I had hoped coming into the season it would have happened a lot faster.
Yeah. And obviously the, changing quarterbacks, after 2 games probably doesn't help.
Yeah.
And then, I do want to give props to A-Chain. He's played, absolutely phenomenal
Yeah, he's our whole team.
past few games. But I do want to, have a moment for Nye Smith. Confirmed, per Billy Lucci, he is out for the season. Had surgery this week, and by the way that Billy worded the tweet, his words were, Anai should be back in time for pre-draft workouts. I'm gonna make the assumption, and it's not a done deal. I'm making the assumption that Anai has let people know, hey, I'm gonna go to the NFL after this. That could change. I'm just using the context clues that we have today. That's my expectation. And if this is the last we've seen of Anais in maroon and white, it's been fun. I've loved having him on our team. He's probably my favorite player from the Jimbo era. So far, just super passionate, heck of a leader. You can tell his passion and energy just through the way that he plays and his mannerisms and his antics. It's been great having him here. I was going to miss him next year. It really sucks for this team that he won't be on the field for the next 8 games. So hats off to you, Nias. We have really enjoyed having you, but hope you kill in the NFL if that time comes.
Yeah, me too. And I would love to have him back, but I wouldn't blame him at all if he moved on to the NFL because, having one injury, an injury like what he just had, really hurts your draft stock. But if he did come back next year and he got injured again, now he's a injury threat, and that's even worse. So wouldn't blame him at all if he moved on. But yeah, he's done incredible things here at A&M. I think every Aggie would say that they're very thankful for the time that he played for us. That's a big blow to our team with him gone. But in some way, and to be silver lining on injury, I hate injuries so bad. I don't care what team you play for. I just really hate that for the kids. But to be kind of corny, maybe this could turn out to be something that's really good for our team moving forward. Kind of like a team building thing because he is such a leader. I can't imagine him being, one that is now going to work with the strength and conditioning coaches the rest of the year and not be on the sideline at practice. And it could be like a Phil Coulson moment for the Avengers, where they lose their bond there, and then they'll say, rally around it. So I could very well see him be one that is kind of a player's coach, out there, helping his teammates and trying to get them there. And then now they have the added pressure of we have to do it because we don't have him to bail us out, and I think that we could see that cause a lot of growing up in our wide receiver core, and that's what we need there. So it could be beneficial, but that's the touchy-feely stuff that you don't know. You don't know whether that'll pan out to be true or not. He may not ever come back to practice. You can't ever tell, but that's what you hope for anyways, if you want a silver lining. But yes, thanks for everything, Anais. We appreciate it. Hats off to you, and thanks for being such a good Aggie.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, it's now time for, Like if you're Yul Keith Brown, if you're Moose Muhammad, if you're Evan Stewart and Chris Marshall, Noah Thomas, all these freshmen, or Devin Price or Chase Lane, like this is your time to take a step. And as far as like the same position, like I think Yul Keith is kind of like the plug and play guy there. Like he's definitely more of a slot. Which I mean, I think Yul Keith has a super high ceiling here at A&M. So I hate that it's coming at the expense of Anias, but one silver lining is pretty much everyone that you see catch a pass for A&M the rest of this season, with the exception of A-Chain, is definitely going to be here next year.
Yeah,
and maybe him too. But that is part of the bright spot.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into this week and talk a little Mississippi State. I don't really know how to feel about Mississippi State. I don't know if I'm, optimistic or pessimistic about the game. I really don't know how to feel. They've been up and down like any Leach team. Playing there is always harder. They're, of course, been our Achilles heel for years. But this is a game that we need to win. We really need to win this game. I just don't see, if we lose this game, it's going to snowball in Alabama. That's the way I feel about it. And we're going to end up 3-3 in the first 6 games. If we win this game, I think that gives us optimism going into Bama, and we may play them a lot better than if we were playing Bama this week. I don't think that we play them all that well, but this could be a big building weekend for us if we can go in and put on a bit of a clinic and play sound football. If we play sound football this weekend, it gives me a lot of excitement going into Bama, that I'm still not ready to say we're going to go beat Bama, but it could be a big step for us.
Yeah. It's another week with Max getting the reps at quarterback. It's another week for guys to get healthy. We still haven't really seen McKinley Jackson yet, and he's your most veteran guy on your defensive line. You've been playing, Fadil Diggs, Alva Regis, and about 12 freshmen on the defensive line, it seems like.
Yeah.
So it'd be really nice to get McKinley back this week for, at least to get some reps before we play Bama. But I'm oddly confident about this game. I'm typically not when we go play over there, especially with Leach and, after what he did to us last year. But I don't know. And like kind of as a look at the whole season, I think Arkansas is probably the second toughest team we'll play all year. And I think it's probably by a pretty good margin. So A&M doesn't have to be dominant to win a bunch of games this season. Not to, speak bad of Ole Miss or Auburn or Florida or Mississippi State, but A&M should beat all these teams if we're being honest. And what gives me confidence is, I love our defensive backs. I know, air raid, they're going to throw it probably 50 times this weekend, if not more. That's what they're going to do. And, this is a game for guys like Bryce Anderson and guys like Antonio Johnson and Brian George, and all the defensive backs like Tyreek Chappelle, Jalen Jones, Damani. You're probably going to see a lot of those guys on the field. And I like it. I hate playing this kind of offense, but we are pretty well equipped to, hold our own against it. I'm interested to see what does Durkin do in terms of pressure. Is he going to, play 3 down and, try some blitzes? That's kind of what I would expect. He was actually, with Ole Miss last year, his defense played pretty well against Mississippi State. They ended up winning that game by a decent margin, but I don't know. It feels like last year they just picked us apart and it was tough to watch. So I hope that our scheme is a little bit more prepared this year.
Yeah, I think the recipe to winning this game is going to come from scoring points in the first half, um, because I think our defense is equipped to handle their offense. And our defense, I mean, that's the strength of our team, and it's going to be the whole year. There's no doubt about that. But if we go out and we score 3 or 4 touchdowns in the first half, then I think we've got a pretty good shot. We need to take some of the wind out of their sails. And the reason I say that is if you come out and really play good defense right at the beginning, against an air raid offense, they're going to have some really quick 3-and-outs, and your
Mhm.
defense is off the field, and your offense is back out there. And you do that, you stack that 3 or 4 or 5 times, and you really take a lot of their hope away. And when you're playing in a hostile environment, if it's a close game all through the game, that's going to be tough. If we go out and we hold them to some 3-and-outs early, and then we capitalize on that by scoring, whether it's a touchdown or field goal, just getting points on the board. That's where the key to it is. Or if we can be up by a few scores going in half, I think that's what really takes that wind out of their sails, And
Yeah.
so I think that's the key to beating any air raid. We're equipped to be able to do that on defense. Question is our offense good enough against their defense to do it? Going back to what we said earlier, I do think that we have the talent and the skill to be able to do that, but can we play sound football and make it happen?
Yeah.
And that's the corner that we need to turn. And I would say, for the optimism, this is as good of a team as ever to finally turn that corner with. This is one that you can go out and you can dominate early. And if you do dominate early, it gives you a lot of confidence to where, I mean, when you're playing a team like this, they're going to be very, make it or break it team. And if you break them and you blow them out, that's going to give us a lot of confidence going into Bama, So
Yeah.
it can happen. I mean, I really and truly do think it happened. It could happen because even if we're playing the boring offense of not really throwing it down the field and all of that, if they're going 3-and-out every time they come out there on the field, then we could play that and still run up the score, So,
Yeah.
um,
I got this stat from our friend Robert Behrens. Shout out to Robert, RCBO5 on Twitter. In Mississippi State's 4 games, they've played one passing defense that's inside the top 100. So the other 3 they played are some of the worst passing defenses in the country, and I'm pretty sure A&M is a top 10 passing defense. I could be mistaken. Depends on the metric, but our pass defense is pretty good, I think. And the one game they did play against a non terrible pass defense was against LSU, and they had 289 yards of total offense, and that's not that good for an air raid team. They lost 31-16. They had 2 touchdowns. Actually, I think they had 1 touchdown. They had 3 field goals in the game. If we get that performance, not saying that we will, we're going to win this game going away. But you should have to go out and do it. And I am confident. I'll probably change my mind 5 minutes into this game and be not confident. But I mean, I could be wrong. This could be the week that things click for us, and maybe the matchup's good, and maybe we go out there and dominate. But I think I'm pretty sure they're still favored.
They're favored by 4.
Yeah, I don't understand that, to be honest. I mean, I know home field gets a couple of points, but yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing it. So I'm prepared to be wrong and come back on next week's show and tell you about it. But I don't know. I feel good about this one.
Yeah, I do too. I just want to see what Mike Leach would say about the game, really.
Yeah.
I haven't watched his press conferences, but you know how much I like Mike Leach.
I do know how much you like Mike Leach. In fact, do we want any background or we just want to get into the video?
I'll just say play it.
Okay. Disclaimer, this is not this is for informational purposes only, and this is not financial advice.
Yeah, I don't agree with any financial advice that might be gleaned.
Information purposes only.
Hey, this is Mike Leach. I'm reaching out to Chase from Will and Brittany. Hey, they tell me that you're a financial advisor and your name is Chase. You got to be kidding me. I mean, so your parents did you that on purpose? I mean, right off the bat, they figured on making you a financial officer. Well, I'll tell you what, they picked the right name, the right person. Will and Brittany think a lot of you, and we want to wish you a happy birthday. Happy 30th birthday. I'll tell you what, making money hand over fist, turning 30, going into the 30s, which is one of the funnest decades ever. It gets better as you go on, but it's a lot better than the 20s because one, you have money, and two, you begin to get things kind of mapped out. And so obviously I would definitely want to talk to you some about stocks before I made any serious investments because under the best of circumstances, those are scary because stocks are nothing more than legalized gambling. And you know what they say about gambling, the house always wins. And so as a result, I do it with a certain amount of apprehension. And then of course crypto, as far as I'm concerned, is basically a pyramid scheme. Maybe you can talk me back on the rails with that. And then obviously the more of the metals that you can get nowadays, probably the better off you are. But I really am tempted in this day and age to start burying mason jars in the backyard and save it up for a rainy day. But I'll tell you what, I mean, this is your birthday, so you don't want to think about all that. What you want to do is get together with your friends, have a great time, let it rip. Because, hey, you know, since it's your birthday, that's a Wolf of Wall Street day for you. So you need to get Will and Brittany, have a tremendous time. Everybody that you like, eat the stuff you want, go the places you want, and you'll know how to do it. Financial advisor, Wolf of Wall Street. Hey, that's your birthday. Hey, make it happen, and I wish you the very best. And Chase, most of all, happy birthday.
Coming on, Mike. It's very nice of you to join us, Mike Leach. We appreciate that. Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate it. I don't know that I'm opening an account for him. I think I'm gonna have to tell him to find a different guy.
You think it's a good fit?
Yeah, just too many reteaching to go on there. He seems pretty set in his opinions.
Yeah, he is an old dog, so he may not be opening any new tricks.
I think of everybody though, he could probably bury some money in the backyard and still be fine.
He's probably got one. He's probably got jars buried at every stadium that he's coached at.
Yeah, I bet you're right there. I very much expect him to be like a Ron Swanson type that has just like ready to go. He just hits his desk and he's got like a whole kit ready to go for the apocalypse. But
and every jar has an index card with his entire playbook on it.
Imagine your whole playbook being on an index card. You know?
Did you guys see that picture of Jimbo?
Yes,
with like the filing cabinet full of paper. It's like yeah, exactly. Well, what are we gonna call here? It's a 3rd and 2.5.
Call number 117. 117. You know.
Instead of the wristband, our players just have a whole sleeve. every play number on it.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, man. So, I guess let's wrap it up here. We're going kind of long today, but this coming up weekend is just so loaded with quality games. It's not worth it to get out of here early. So, there was a weekend last season that we dubbed Separation Saturday. I'm going to go ahead and give that moniker to this weekend.
Mhm.
A lot of big outcomes will be determined from this weekend. First and foremost, Friday night, number 15 Washington at UCLA at 9:30 on ESPN. Washington wins this, and they probably have the inside track to make it to the Pac-12 title game, even with maybe a loss somewhere else. But they've been impressive so far, and UCLA, I think UCLA is undefeated. They're not ranked, but they're undefeated. Just as big a game for them. Playing at home against a ranked opponent. So it's the Pac-12 is a super interesting league. Man, UCLA's got a tough stretch.
I was just looking at that.
They play host Washington this week, host Utah the next week, go to Oregon the following week. So pretty tough stretch for the Bruins. But yeah, that's definitely a game of interest.
Yeah, it is. You didn't mention BYU Utah State, but I think it's just because you won't be there. But
Yeah,
I'm going to that game tomorrow. Can't wait.
wish I could.
That'll be a fun one. I think Kentucky's going to beat the brakes off of Ole Miss.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not buying Ole Miss this season, and I think Kentucky's gonna separate themselves there.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm gonna fight you on that.
okay.
I think Kentucky's the most overrated team in the country right now.
Really?
like, why are they number 7? I mean, like
SEC bias.
it is SEC bias. I mean, get Danny Cannell on here to educate everybody about how egregious this is.
Why don't you make a bet on it?
The Andy Staples show does some pretty off the wall bets. Like there's that super hot like chip. It's like a gag gift. Like it's not a real chip, but like it's just so insanely
The one
spicy.
chip challenge.
Yeah, it's that thing.
Yeah, that thing.
They made a bet on that where they had to eat it live on the next show. Not willing to go out on that kind of limb for Ole Miss, but
I'll eat a Cool Ranch Dorito.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah, that's about as far as I'm going on that.
yeah. But I do think, I think I mentioned earlier in the show that the numbers really like Ole Miss. I'm honestly not entirely sure why, but I'm just not. I'm not big on Kentucky. I don't know if they can score with Ole Miss. Their quarterback is apparently a pro prospect, but their offense is kind of crappy. So don't understand how that works. But and it's in Oxford, so I'm taking Ole Miss there. If y'all can think of some exciting bet that we can wager, I'm all for that. But I'm not doing the one chip challenge, not doing the hot ones, not doing anything that's going to cause me bodily harm. So
Yeah, I think additional gastroesophageal reflux is not something that I want. So
it's probably not good for you.
no, I don't believe that would be ideal.
I'm gonna get a call from your mom and from Emily and be like, "What did y'all do to Chase?"
We already mentioned Baylor, Oklahoma State. That's going to be a good one. I think Wake Forest has the edge over Florida State. Still going to be a good game. I don't know. Oregon State almost beat USC last week, so maybe they can pull an upset against Utah. We'll see.
I meant to put Florida State in my teams I'm buying earlier. I'm not saying that like this is going to be a very competitive game against Wake Forest, but Florida State was a team coming in that I thought Mike Norvell might end up on the hot seat, and especially after losing, what's his face that went to Jackson State, the Travis Hunter, the number 1 player in the country last year. That was incredibly embarrassing for Florida State, and obviously it's just one guy that you didn't get, but they've been pretty mediocre since he's been there. But I've watched them a handful of times. I like the quarterback Jordan Travis. They're a they're a good football team. They're a quality top 25 team, and they're playing at home against a really good Wake team. This could go either way, but on the season, I like what Florida State's doing so far.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I think I give Wake the edge because I'm high on Wake, but I've been impressed with Florida State. They I think you had a good summation there. What do you think about Alabama, Arkansas?
Man, if I had to pick one game, and I think all these are like a lot of these games are at 2:30. If I only have one TV, I'm setting it to this game just because of the implications on the team that I root for. But
Yeah.
I'm on record saying this Alabama team is not that good. Like they don't suck, obviously. Like they're by other people's standards, they're a good team. But they're not a great team. They're just not. They do not have the level of receiver play that they've had in the past, and that made them so unstoppable. Like from 2018 until like even last year when they had Jameson Williams and John Mechie, it was a cheat code. Like you could play your best game and like and win on a down to down basis, and then 70-yard touchdown, game over. And I don't think they have those kind of guys. So I'm hoping these teams just beat up on each other, and Alabama is limping into the game next week. But,
I hope so too.
But Arkansas is physical, man. Like, I mean, we just played them, but like O-line full of grown men, guys that have played a lot of football. Their quarterback is 240 plus pounds. Their running back is 225 plus pounds. Like they're just a physical downhill football team. And I don't know. I think it's going to be a lot closer than what the spread is, which is like 15 or 16 points.
Yeah, I think it will be too. I'm anxious to watch that game for sure. Clemson NC State will be a good game as well. I don't know. I'm circling USC Arizona State. Will the number 6 team in the nation get knocked off by a non-ranked opponent at home? It might be the third time that happens this season.
Who does USC play the following week? This may be an every other week kind of deal.
Next week they play Wazoo.
Yeah, Washington State also at home.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna bet you, or not, I'm not gonna bet you. I'm gonna call it right now. They are losing to Washington State next week. if they're ranked number 6 or not, which they probably still will be, but that's a game they're losing. So, sorry Trojans, but it's already been written. It's already been decided. So
I would like that pattern better anyways, because then it's like every 2 weeks it happens.
Yeah.
So I'm down for that.
Well, number 7's going to lose this week, so
that's what they're saying apparently.
There was one at the top. Oklahoma TCU I don't think is super compelling. I think Oklahoma probably waxes them. Texas Tech at K-State, that's a good game.
Yeah, that's going to be an entertaining one.
K-State sneaking into the top 25 at number 25. If they want to be a real contender, they're going to have to win the home games like this. Like Tech is a good team, but they're not like a Big 12 stalwart yet. So K-State really needs that one. Michigan and Iowa, wouldn't watch this if you paid me to. By the way, I did want to give an update that Iowa and Rutgers did go over last week. The over-under was 34.5, and there were 37 points scored in the game. So congrats to them for that amazing offensive output. Speaking of Rutgers, they're about to get absolutely murdered by Ohio State. I don't know if we've talked about Ohio State at all today, but they just steamrolled Wisconsin this past week. It was never competitive. This week will be even worse because Ohio State's the real deal, and Rutgers is pretty bad. So that's going to be it's going to be ugly.
I'm all for that for fantasy because I need a win. I think I'm 3-1.
I'm playing you this week, and I looked at who your teams are playing, and I'm like, God dang it! Like, you have some really good matchups this week.
Yeah. Last week I didn't play my receiver Keaton Thompson from Virginia, but I did play the quarterback, and somehow the receiver scored more points than the quarterback did. So that was a bummer.
Yeah.
Well.
How about Cal? I don't know who they're playing this week, but you've got that Cal running back, that freshman that had like 50 fantasy points last week.
Yeah, he did well for me last week.
Yeah, I was looking at your team. I was like, "Who the hell is this guy? He probably didn't do anything." Oh my God, he crushed it last week. He had 4 touchdowns.
He's going to be one of those that's up and down all the time. So
yeah,
we'll see.
They're at Wazoo. Cal is sneaky good. Narrow loss to Notre Dame by like a touchdown. It's like their only loss of the season. They can make some noise at Wazoo. LSU at Auburn. Auburn never wins at LSU. I guess except for last year. It's like the first year they'd done it since like 98 or something like that. And they're riding high after their big unlikely win over Missouri. But I think it's interesting. I mean, like LSU has been a little better than I expected over the past few weeks. But it wouldn't shock me at all to see them drop this one.
No, me neither.
I'm not sure if there's much more to say about
I was going to say that.
Oklahoma State and Baylor. We talked about that a little bit already. If I feel like is it a must win for both these teams?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Baylor's already got the loss on the season.
Yeah, because last season it was kind of the same deal, and then like Oklahoma State beat Baylor in the regular season, and then like we kind of wrote Baylor off, and then they pulled off, or like they ran off a bunch of wins down the stretch and won the conference. But I think the road, like we talked a little bit earlier about their schedule, the road gets a lot tougher, even after Oklahoma State. So they need this one. I mean, Oklahoma State, it's Spencer Sanders' senior year, and I've never been a huge fan. He's just too Jekyll and Hyde for my taste. But sometimes there's especially at quarterback, there's guys that they get to their senior year and everything just clicks, and they don't miss a beat. So you could see him really break out in this game, and if he has a big performance and they win the game, their stock's gonna be going up.
Yeah, I think we're gonna learn a lot about both of those teams from that game. So,
and really,
I'm excited to see that one. I guess that just at 2:30, 3 o'clock time slot's going to be chock full of good games.
You know what other game is at 2:30?
Kansas on the calendar.
Kansas hosts Iowa State.
Game day still won't go there.
To go 5-0.
They've got a real shot at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anyone know where game day is this week? I haven't even looked. Like I have no clue. Of course, that makes sense.
And the Hurricanes probably going to push them.
You know where there's not hurricanes? In Lawrence, Kansas.
Where does Kansas play?
There is Cyclones.
They host TCU next week. Come on, that's prime time.
They have a lot of home games. I bet the back half of their schedule is just like at Baylor, at Oklahoma State, at Oklahoma, and then our entire Kansas narrative is going to go down the drain.
Yeah.
Yeah, after this week and next week, they go to Oklahoma, Baylor, come back for Oklahoma State, go to Lubbock, host Texas, and then go to K-State. So
Yeah.
not a lot of time spent at home after this.
Speaking of Texas, I don't want to say this is a must win or it's a make or break, but lose this one at home to West Virginia, and you're looking at 5-7 again. Like you cannot screw around and lose this one, especially with as strong as the rest of the conference has been looking. So definitely interested in how Texas does.
Yeah, me too.
I've got a candidate for crappy game of the week. Indiana is at Nebraska.
Oh my God.
I haven't checked SP Plus for these two teams, but I can almost guarantee you they're both in the hundreds. Like these teams are god awful this year. One's already fired their coach. The other one is just bad, just all around bad in Indiana. This may be Nebraska's last shot for a win this season. Whatever you do, don't watch this. Watch any other game that's on.
Yeah, that game takes the L for the week, no doubt about it. Call it an NIL deal.
Oh Lord.
Oh man, that was peak Chase right there. Hey, I don't know if I ever said this on here. I had the perfect Chase kind of joke, and Brittany's the only one that heard it, so no one else got to appreciate it. It was back on week 1, and they had that Monday night game, Clemson and Georgia Tech, and it was the Chick-fil-A kickoff, and I turned it on, and Brittany was like, "Oh, the Chick-fil-A kickoff game's tonight." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "It's Chick-fil-A, so they couldn't have it on Sunday, so they had to have it today."
All right, I'll give you credit for that one. That was pretty good. That's pretty good.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm all out of games for this week.
Yeah, I am too. Well, we'll get y'all out of here. Y'all one that's with us. Who's with us? I don't know who you are, but thanks for joining us.
Sutton checked in about 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, I figure it must probably be him. I don't know. I've seen it kind of fluctuate a bit, but
yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of the Ineligibles podcast with Will, Chase, and Hayden. We'll see you next week. Oh, it is Sutton. Thanks for joining us, Sutton.
All right, y'all. Have a good one.